Hey everybody, welcome to BrickVault. Today we are reviewing two Batmobile MOCs from the very talented builder Lucas. He has a ton of these designs up his sleeve, and today we are exploring a couple of them from the video game world, or at least the designs that are most heavily inspired from that which we've seen in some popular Batman video games. The first one here being the Arkham Asylum Batmobile, one of the smallest and I think sleekest to come from any of the branches of the Batverse, and the second one is the Injustice Gods Among Us Batmobile that kind of plays halfway between a bit heavily armored and also pretty sleek. Just like the rest of Lucas's MOCs we have shown here on the channel, the instructions can be found at our web store, www.brickvault.toys, where we sell the PDF instructions as well as an XML file for easy ordering online, and I highly encourage you guys to go check it out. The sales really do help us out here at the channel, and also the designers that we work with, like Lucas here. Now, I'm going to be checking these two vehicles out individually first, so let's start with the Arkham Asylum Batmobile. I think it's a little bit more unique compared to, well, actually almost all the other ones, come to think of it. It's one of the only vehicles that came from the Batverse that isn't made completely in black. The flat silver wheel wells is by far its most distinct and kind of unique feature, and I can also appreciate the build for the engine in the front with the studs, as well as those tiles that have those prints that look like piston caps or something. Outside of the Batmobiles that we've seen on the big screen from any of the films, I would say this is probably the most recognizable vehicle that isn't directly from a film. The Arkham Asylum games that came out back in 2009 were wildly popular, and though that gameplay I think was probably most well known for its free roaming as Batman himself, the Batmobile was still cool, and its recognizability is certainly a testament to the quality of the design team that worked on those games. When going through this build's specific features, it's got all the familiar symptoms of a Batmobile, that being a big engine, some nice dynamic curves around sort of the hips with some large wheel wells, fins in the back with a big old jet thruster, and of course a very low canopy. The funny thing about this guy is that you technically can fit Batman in here, and as far as I can tell, the only way we got him in was by having Batman stick his head out in a sort of silly way. It's kind of a funny symptom of making a vehicle minifig scale accurate. Usually it's a tight fit for the fig, and this by far is a little bit extreme compared to any of the other models. Now, when it comes to handling, it's pretty solid. This is actually Mike handling the build here. I haven't watched this footage yet before, but you can see that it is very easy to move around. He's trying to bend it in half. It doesn't look like it's going to be breaking anytime soon. In terms of any of the weak points, there are a few areas of the build that are attached by one stud, but they have a lot of corners that fit into the model where you're not going to be accidentally knocking those pieces off too easily. One stud attachments I think are perfectly reasonable if you know how to sort of stitch them into the build. Obviously the canopy doesn't break off too easily, and then here we go, Mike seems to have smashed off just a little bit of the build, and yeah, that's basically it. So you can kind of mess around with it. There you go, Mike, turn it around the other way. So basically, yeah, I would say it's a perfectly playable model that, you know, has pieces breaking off every now and then if you handle it a little bit roughly, but nothing that's going to kind of annoy you to the point where a very complex bit of building is going to break off. Here it is next to all of the other models that Lucas currently has, or most of them. It's very cool that they all pretty much scale just about right with each other. And now let's move on to the Injustice Batmobile. Now, this game didn't really have a whole lot of driving in it, and I'm going to level with you, I never actually played this game, but I can see why Lucas was attracted to this particular design that you see featured in it. This plays along the lines of being one of those longer, sleek Batmobiles that we've seen from several other classic iterations. It features some relatively smooth but very heavy armor, I think probably being most pronounced in the front with that kind of hammerhead-like bumper, large headlights, and then an even larger set of exhaust clusters on either side of the big engine. I'd say just purely based on the looks of this vehicle, it seems to command a bit more power than maybe the average Batmobile vehicle out there. It's really hard to say though. It's got some nice big fins in the back, of course, with another jet thruster like always. Two sets of wheels in the front, which I think is a fun detail. That's part of the reason why I feel like this has just a bit more traction than maybe some of the other Batmobiles out there. And then when it comes to functionality, you can fit a Batman fig completely inside the canopy, but you do have to take off, I would say, maybe a little bit more than the average amount of parts to actually get him in in and out. And then once again, I have not actually watched Mike handle this vehicle. You can see it's pretty solid from the bottom, mostly completely plated over. The model itself isn't going to be bending in any particular way. And it looks like Mike has sniffed out another single stud attachment point, which makes sort of the front of the wheel well there for the back wheel. And then of course the fins in the back are going to be attached by one stud, but that kind of always makes sense. My conclusion for this Batmobile is pretty much the same as the last. Relatively strong, couple of tiny weak points, but nothing that's going to put you out if it breaks. So once again, here are the two Batmobiles together. It's kind of funny how they share so many of the same features in a certain way, yet when you look at them side by side, they really do feel very different, and we might as well get all the Batmobiles in the shot right now. It's so cool to have this minifig scale collection all together. Anyways, if you guys did like this video, please feel free to go check out our web store, www.brickvault.toys. It really does help us out. It supports the channel here. It supports the builders that make these awesome designs. And if you've made it this far in the video, thanks so much for watching. I really don't know how to do outros anymore, so my voice just is gonna fade away into the cloud.